Now, if you're suffering from depression, you aren't alone. A report from Gallup finds that depression is more widespread than ever in the U.S.
That's right. Many local mental health professionals and advocates are speaking out about these rising rates. I sat down with two to see how they're bringing awareness and making a difference in the Twin Tiers. This Mental Health Awareness Month, alarming statistics showing a rise in depression among Americans. Many health experts say the awareness of mental health has grown, leading to higher rates of diagnoses.
We're in an era where we're increasingly aware of the options for people to be well, and the former stigmas that still are there a bit, saying, well, you're mentally ill, as if that's a disparaging thing, is gradually being peeled away, and we have an option for people to think about, how are you doing? How's life?
In a new survey published by Gallup, 29% of adults say they're depressed or are receiving treatment for depression. That's a jump of almost 20% since Gallup started polling the topic in 2015. As the executive director of the Elmira Psychiatric Center, David Putney isn't surprised Americans are struggling, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. So is this, in fact, a crisis or even an epidemic like many people are claiming it to be?
I believe the biggest epidemic is an epidemic of isolation. Think about the COVID ordeal that we've all been through for 3+ years, really, right? It's taken a toll on people. You take away the social connection that people had in the workplace, it's going to have an effect.
And unfortunately, it doesn't stop at depression for some. The CDC reports suicide rates have been on the rise over the years, nearly reaching its peak in 2021 after 2 years of declines. That's a statistic one Elmira mother knows all too well.
I got a phone call that they had found him, and the rest of the month of March is like a blank, a blur. I really, truly don't remember a whole lot.
Deb Maxwell lost her son, David Bubby Shugart, to suicide on March 5, 2014. Despite saying he had become more withdrawn towards the end of his life, Deb tells me he had an outreach in Elmira that touched everybody.
He had a light that it was always all about everybody else. Special, special man.
Now, Deb isn't alone. Regionally, the National Alliance on Mental Illness reporting more than 1,700 New Yorkers committed suicide within the year in February 2021, and 558,000 adults reporting thoughts of it. In Pennsylvania, more than 2,000 people took their own lives, and 416,000 considered it.
Numbers are only getting higher and higher, my opinion, due to the fact that mental health is, one, very difficult to receive. For two, I think that there's an awful lot of men who do not reach out for help because they're raised with the stigma over them. You're a man, you're strong, you don't ask for help, you do it yourself. And it can't be that way.
Nearly a decade after her son's passing, Deb is now helping other suicide survivors through Smile Through the Storms, a suicide grief support group she created soon after David died.
I couldn't sit back and wallow, which would have been very easy to do. There was nothing around here for just suicide survivors. So I had it in my mind, if you can't find it, then you make one.
In addition to holding bi-monthly support meetings for the group, Deb wanted to find a way to help suicide survivors process their grief and cement the memories of all the angels gone too soon. In December 2021, Smile Through the Storms planted a tree in their honor.
We needed to have a place of happy memories where survivors can come and talk to their angels and share special moments to where it's a live, beautiful place.
And as a tribute for David himself, a bench was built and dedicated in his memory, completed with a suicide survivor heart ribbon and his daughter's handprints. Both are located at Eldridge Park in Elmira, a place that holds a special meaning for Deb's entire family and fills them with the promise of hope.
Eldridge Park was the first place that my father brought my mother to for their first date. And then with myself, I was a single parent, so I would bring my children over and do the picnics and do the fishing. And then when Dave had his family, he too would bring his children over and his family and do the picnics and the fishing. Hence why I picked Eldridge for the special spot to have his bench.
As she continues to keep David's memory alive, Deb has one message for parents and friends of anyone who's struggling with mental illness.
Get them help. Let them know that you're there for them. Let them know it's okay to get help.
In Elmira, Katerina Balalis, WENY News. Now, if you or someone you know is interested in learning more about Smile Through the Storms, you can head to their website at smilethroughthestorms.com or call them at 607-241-6624.
For the Elmira Psychiatric Center, call 607-737-4711. More places that offer support in the Twin Tiers can be found on our website at WENY.com after the show.
And of course, those who need immediate service can also call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's 3 simple numbers, 988. There will also be specific county hotlines up on our website after the show as well.
Such a very thing to remember, especially on this last day of Mental Health Awareness Month.
Of course, and what Deb is doing is just absolutely beautiful for the community.
Yeah, of course, people need it.
Absolutely.